Okay, here we go, baby. Steak frites. I absolutely fell in love with this dish, cooking with legendary Parisian chefs abroad, and I made it for so many of my clients in my years as a private chef. It can be a great everyday eat, or at the highest level, it can transport you to a Parisian boulangerie surrounded by beautiful people on tiny tables. We're going for that today. I'm gonna show you some clinical techniques to elevate your steak, elevate your potatoes, and instead of the classic à poivre, it's summertime, so we're gonna do a gorgeous chimichurri on top. Let's make a steak. But first I'm gonna show you a couple techniques to elevate your steak game, starting with the preparation. We're using a beautiful hanger steak today, which is a classic steak frites cut. And with a steak like a hanger, it has a tendency to have less structure, there's no bone, there's less integrity. But notice how firm and beautifully shaped these two steaks are. That is because we wrapped our hanger steak in plastic overnight and tightened the ends until we had a beautiful, firm little baguette. It gives it this firmness and shape that when you slice and put over your final dish, will just have a satisfying look. First thing we're gonna do, generously season all sides of the steak. Pat it in, get familiar with your steak. Now for an absolute masterclass of a Marco Pierre White technique, which I originally saw him do for steak à poivre. You're gonna combine cornstarch and coarse peppercorn, and we're gonna create almost a crust on one side of the steak that's just gonna be a gorgeous visual and an insane texture and flavor. And you can see this coarse peppercorn, it still has chunks, it still has texture. It's gonna smack you when you take that bite. Now what I wanna find is my presentation side of the steak. So the flattest, most surface area for this steak, you can see it's this wide body right here. And I'm just gonna press it into the mixture, covering all parts of that side. It's this beautiful crust. Unlike most steak recipes, we started these guys in a cold pan and we're gently bringing it up to heat to perfume all that black pepper before we get to searing. And when you start to smell that peppercorn, you start to hear that crackle, we're gonna go in with a high smoke point oil and start to brown and get a beautiful crisp on our steaks. And always use your ears. You know, when you're frying or searing, you wanna have that bubble bouncing and dancing, but you don't want it to be overkill and you don't want it to be dormant. So if you have a nice little jumping bubble in the pan, you're probably in a good spot. So if it's sticking a little bit, give it some time, be patient, and when it releases from the pan, we'll give it a flip. Look at that crust. Look at the development. You see all those peppercorns shine through and come to life? That's gonna be just a crunchy bite to contrast the soft, melt in your mouth hanger. All right, now for the fun part. Let's baste. Some butter into the pan, shallot, some garlic, rosemary. When the butter goes in, make sure you're on a little bit more of a gentle heat because butter will burn, and that's gonna add a bitter taste that we just do not want on this delicate, gorgeous steak. We're starting to bubble, which means our butter is at temp. It's infusing with all these beautiful aromatics, and we can start to tilt and baste, infusing all those flavors. Our little guy is coming out, and we're gonna let it rest for at least 15 minutes to gently relax. If you cut a steak while it's this hot, all of the moisture is gonna come flooding out of the steak due to osmosis, and all that work and preparation will be for nothing. Ooh. Those aromatics. And in the meantime, we're gonna work on a little garlic, Parmesan, parsley topper for the fries to take them up to maximum levels of impact. Little tip for cutting soft herbs. We're gonna clump them up gently and then roll them into each other, not crushing the herbs, but just tucking them in like a little baby, and then go to down. Boom, into the garlic. And we're gonna finish with an ingredient you can never skimp on, a mountain of Parmesan. Okay, look at this, beautiful. Just bring them together to combine those flavors. That on top of your French fries? Gah! Now for the sauce. You know, classically in Paris, they might serve this à poivre, but it's 95 degrees out, and we need a lift. We need a gentle, herbaceous chimichurri. Make it by hand. The blender can chill today. Smash your garlic, get rid of all those skins. It's raw garlic, so we don't want to go overboard. We'll start with a couple beautiful cloves, and then, look at this micro shallot, fun-sized, petite. Boom, into the bowl. We're thinking layers to the sauce. Anything impactful has depth, it has a journey element to it. So The garlic and the shallot is gonna give you that raw attack, that spice. Then all that herbaceousness is gonna brighten it up and hit the top of the mouth. Then we'll hit it with some beautiful olive oil and vinegar, in with a little jalapeno. It's not traditional, but we're on the West Coast, baby. Boom. Salt's gonna help all these elements break down. We're just gonna pound away. This is how Argentinian grandmas were doing it 300 years ago. Now we're gonna go in with all of our herbs. Fresh parsley. In with some olive oil and some red wine vinegar, just to taste. A little more oil to loosen it up. It might seem like a lot, but the oil is the emulsifier. It's the body, the lifeblood. We're gonna sprinkle in some red chili flakes just for a pop of contrast. Always taste along the way. Ooh, the zing from the vinegar, the lift from the herbs, the spice from the chili, and then that body that coats your mouth from the olive oil. We're gonna cover it in plastic till it's ready to use, because it'll oxidize if we don't, and then it'll be a nasty brown instead of a beautiful green. We're going for a double cooked fry. Rustic, skin on russet potato. It's simple. You can see all the starch seeping out into the water, and starch in a potato, or really anything, it gives it a tacky, gummy consistency, and that is not the friend of a good fry. Let's get these boiling. Step one, we're gonna season our water so the salt seeps into the middle of the potato and every bite is seasoned. And we're gonna get our potatoes in while the water is still relatively chill. Because fries need to be caressed, they need to be gentle, otherwise they'll just fall apart. Potatoes are up to a boil, they just need a couple minutes. We wanna preserve that shape and just give them a little bit of a gentle softness. You already know these about to be covered in garlicky Parmesan goodness. Then onto a towel to dry. So our potatoes are boiled nice and pliable, but if we fried them now, all this moisture would prevent us from getting any sort of fantastic crisp. So what we're gonna do is gently get them on a sheet tray, get them into the freezer, and that cooling effect will pull out all the moisture and prep for an ultimate fry, the ultimate crisp. So we're gonna put these in the freezer, and we'll come back to fry. All right, we've got our beautiful fries out of the freezer. You can see we've got some straight chillage mist coming off. Our ideal frying temperature is 350 degrees, but you gotta think, we're putting all these frozen fries into the oil, it's gonna sink the temperature. So we're actually gonna get it up to around 375, 380 to gently ease into that running fry temp. And you can use your spider for a little bit more safety. Woo! Some hot oil. Our fries are looking gorgeous. One of the golden rules of frying is season immediately when it comes out, because that hot oil will absorb and cause all the salt to stick and cling to the fries. Look at this, it's all about imperfections. All that texture, all those little tiny scraggly bits will be the crunchiest parts of the fry. Oh, we're gonna add a little bit of our Parmesan garlic mixture while it's hot to kind of activate and get a slight melt on those cheese, and then we'll top with the rest of our mixture. But let's cut up our steak and let's plate it up, because I'm hungry. And if you want to get a gorgeous show-stopping plate, there's a couple rules you should keep in mind. First, I learned from Cooking with Gordon Ramsay, organization and militant discipline at the end of the process. Everything that's going on your plate should be cut, organized, and where you need it with the proper utensils to serve. Next, you should have your final dish ready to go, and just a clean space to beautifully just let it flow onto the dish. Boom. Let's cut our steak at a slight bias. Be gentle to preserve that beautiful crust. Please. Oh. Oh, God. Okay, let's taste. First of all, the fry. Oh, it's like air. Oh, the grand steak. When I'm just her. The hanger steak is such an undervalued cut. It literally melts in your mouth. The hanger steak just naturally flakes apart. It's so tender. And the chimichurri to me takes this dish from being heavy with a cream-based au poivre and just lifts it into this fun, zesty, inviting summertime classic. This dish is so simple, it's just love on a plate, but with a couple techniques like the peppercorn crust, the beautiful fresh Jimmy, the twice baked Parmesan garlicky fries, you can take it to another dimension. So try making it for a loved one and enjoy a night in heaven.